Hello YouTube, Play-Doh Bear here, and here's the build guide you guys have all been waiting for. The new Trickster build guide with the new Horizon update utilizing the Trespassers set. Enough waiting around, let's jump right into it because I know you guys want to know what's up. Starting with, of course, our weapon. So the weapon we're going to be running is still going to be our bread and butter Death Shield with Fortress and Dark Sacrifice. With the new Horizon update, Fortress actually got a change. Instead of providing a flat 43% damage for just having the mod equipped, it now provides shots increase your current armor and resistances by 5%, and it stacks up to 3 times. At maximum stacks, the buff is double, and additionally grants you with a 30% damage boost for 10 seconds. Now, to get these stacks, you have to shoot enemies. You can't just shoot the air. And it has a 0.2 second cooldown in between the stacks. Now, we lose a 13% in total damage because previously Fortress had a 43% damage increase. But we also gain a maximum of 30 armor and resistances at fully stacks on Fortress, making us even tankier, which is great because we do need tankiness on the Trickster. So the Fortress change for Trickster was actually a buff, in my opinion. However, for AP Pyros and AP Devastators, we're going to take a quick moment of silence because of this change. To my homies Full Metal and Palm, love you guys, but Fortress does not anymore. But hey, for Firepower Tricksters, we still rockin', baby. Okay, for our secondary weapon, the Fatal Symbiont, and our Torment and Agony for our pistol, you can put whatever the fuck you want there. Like I've said in many of my build videos, it's just there for cosmetics, and we love our cosmetics. Let's go ahead and move on to our gear piece, and let's go ahead and explain the Trespasser set. So guys, here's why I'm extremely excited about the new Trespasser set, because of the new set bonus, which with my last 2 days of testing, I can confirm this will be the new best Firepower Trickster build that uses Time Rift. Time Rift is already the best Trickster build for Firepower. Now it just becomes that much better with some insane damage number capabilities if you use the entire, kit correctly. So, what is the new Trespasser set bonus? Well, previously, before the new Horizon update, the only set bonus that Trespassers provided was players cannot die inside the slow field, which was lackluster, had no place in in-game content because slow bubble is more of a support and utility skill. But that being said, with the new Horizon update, they now added, along with players not being able to die in the slow bubble, which we're going to absolutely ignore for this build, we now get an increase in damage by 6% per enemy affected by a deception skill. And deception skills are Time Rift, Venator's Knife, and Slow Bubble. Now, where you're going to be utilizing Time Rift, because when you have the 3 necessary Time Rift mods for this specific build to work together, it makes Venator's Knife look like shit, and it definitely makes Slow Trap look like complete utter garbage in terms of that 6% damage output that we can get. So, before we get to that though, a quick shout out for my sponsor. I'm joking. Before we get to that, let's focus on the three-piece set we're actually going to be using for this build, which is going to be the headpiece, the gloves, and the boots. The reason we use these 3 set pieces is because they have the best combination of the stats we're looking for on Trickster, as well as the mods we want to utilize for this build. And as a quick reminder to everybody, every single Trickster player, if you're looking for gear to get when you're doing campaigns or expeditions, for your greens, your blues, and purples, look out for bonus firepower, close range damage, and cooldown reduction. Now, since we're running the gloves and the boots, the gloves and the boots both have max health roll on them instead of bonus firepower, but that is okay because the new set bonus with that 6% per enemy affected by the deception skill makes up for the loss in the bonus firepower that we don't get from these 2 pieces. Because we also get max health, which is a great trade-off for bonus firepower because it makes us more tanky, and in line with Fortress's new buff, which gives us 30% at max stacks, armor, and resistance, is actually a great trade-off. So, why am I extremely excited about 6% damage per enemy affected by a deception skill? So guys, this bonus is uncapped. This is the reason why Time Rift will excel with this build, as long as I mentioned earlier, you have these 3 Time Rift mods, and they're super easy to obtain, as long as you have the helm and the gloves for the Trespassers, because 2 of them come with it rolled on it, which is amazing. The cowl comes with the long range mod, which you see right here, which it triples the skill range of Time Rift, making it a making it, instead of a micro penis, a BBC. Okay? The gloves has pain transfer, and pain transfer is the best time rift mod out of all of these, because what it does is 20% of weapon damage and 30% of anomaly damage dealt to one enemy gets shared across all enemies that is affected by time rift. So with long range on time rift, increasing our micro penis to a BBC, we have now the ability with pain transfer to have so many enemies from you can really cross time rift, then hunt the prey, get all of those enemies lined up, blast an enemy. Not only are you dealing 6% damage per enemy affected by time rift, you're also getting that pain transfer damage along with that 6% damage per enemy that has no cap. And you can see here on the gloves, we're also running Geiger's Wave, which every enemy affected by time rift also receives the vulnerable status. And anytime an enemy is vulnerable, that's an additional 15% damage you are dealing. So let's look at a best case scenario, an insane damage case scenario. For example, Boomtown, right before the first door, you know when all those enemies crawl from that like little ledge on the very top? If you time rift all of those enemies that are spawning and running to you, that's like 15 plus enemies that you're hitting with time rift. 15 times 6 is a high number that I can't math right now because I'm bad at math. But that combined with the 20% and 30% of anomaly damage and weapon damage being affected by pain transfer when you shoot an enemy, and the vulnerable from Geiger's Wave, one shot. One shot. Now, another example, Dr. D in Boomtown as well. If you can get that lineup where you get all the ads that spawn behind Dr. D and get Dr. D in that time rift, when I was doing my testing, Dr. D died in four shotgun shots. Pew, 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 pew. 4 shots with a death shield, he was dead. So the damage output can be insane when utilizing time rift with pain transfer, Geiger's Wave, and long range in that like best case scenario. So what about a not best case scenario? What about when you can't get that perfect time rift? Well, on average, you're probably going to be getting about 3 to 4 people, even 5 people in a time rift, no matter what map you're playing. Worst case scenario, maybe like 2. Really worst case scenario, maybe that 1 elite you're really focusing. But let's go ahead and focus on that like 3 to 4 people you're going to potentially get on any given map in any scenario. That's still 18 to 24% additional damage you're dealing. And even in a worst case scenario of 1 to 2, that's still an extra 6 to 12% damage on that enemy. So all in all, worst case scenario, we get our old fortress back with 43% damage, right? Worst case scenario, with the new added bonus of the 30% to our armor and resistances. Best case scenario, our damage numbers are uncapped, and oh man, it is just that good. So with that being said, let's go ahead and go over the rest of the mods that we're going to be utilizing. For a headpiece, we're using Sharp Eye, and we're using long range. I explained why long range is amazing. Everybody wants a BBC. Nobody wants a micro penis. But why do we use Sharp Eye? We use Sharp Eye because killing enemies while aiming down sights grants you an additional firepower bonus of 16,000 for 20 seconds. That stacks up to 3 times. Additional firepower means more damage. More damage means faster expeditions. And faster expeditions means you have that bragging rights amongst your friend group. Even though timers don't matter, they do for bragging rights. Moving on to our chest piece, like I mentioned earlier, remember to always utilize bonus firepower, close range damage, and cooldown reduction on the gear that you can. The mods we're going to be using here are going to be Captain Hunter and Personal Space. Captain Hunter, because it is a no-brainer, it is one of the best T3 mods available. Increasing your damage against elites by 25% is huge. And if you didn't know, now you do. Alphas are also elites, so this damage buff applies to alphas as well. The second mod we're going to be using here is Personal Space, which grants you a 25% bonus to close range weapon damage. Personal Space actually got buffed a few patches ago, making it now best in slot over buckshot shells. However, if you don't have Personal Space, but you have a gear piece that has buckshot shells, you could use it in the interim. It's still going to be pretty decent. Now, quick disclaimer here real quick before we move on to the rest of the guide. I'm actually using the new transmog system that came with the new update. So if you're wondering why some of my gear looks the way it does, it's because of that new transmog system. So let's go ahead and move on to our pants. Our pants, again, is just a standard purple pants that I found playing through the expedition with bonus firepower, close range damage, and cooldown reduction. Now, the mods we're using on the pants are Ammo Bargain and Bloodlust. Ammo Bargain because it is a great T3 mod. When the skill is active, when you kill enemies while you have your Twisted Rounds up, you replenish 20% of ammo in your magazine, which is great when you're dealing with a lot of ads. You don't have to think about reloading because you're getting that ammo back when you're killing those enemies. The secondary mod we're going to be using on our pants is going to be Bloodlust. Now, Bloodlust is very similar to Sharp Eye, and that's why we love our firepower mods. Now, with Sharp Eye, you actually have to aim down sights to get the bonus, which lasts for 10 seconds longer than Bloodlust. But for Bloodlust, it gives you a higher firepower stack at 17,000. That stacks up to 3 times, but it deteriorates over 10 seconds versus 20 seconds. And you don't actually have to scope in for Bloodlust to be active. You can actually hip fire. So just keep that in mind when you're stacking Sharp Eye and Bloodlust. Remember to scope in with aim down sights to utilize that Sharp Eye bonus. Then you can just hip fire away because that Sharp Eye bonus lasts for 20 seconds. So that's why we want to run Bloodlust and Ammo Bargain on our pants. Moving on to our gloves, which is the Trespasser's Talon. We're going to be utilizing Pain Transfer, like I mentioned earlier, because it rolls on the gloves. And Trespasser Talons also rolls with Double Time, which is another Time Rift mod. But we're going to be replacing Double Time with Geiger's Wave, like I mentioned earlier. Pain Transfer for that amazing AoE damage for everything that gets sucked up in Time Rift. And then Geiger's Wave additionally for that 15% of damage because of the vulnerable status for everything, again, that gets in Time Rift's way. So that's why we run Pain Transfer and Geiger's Wave here. For our boots, we're using the Trespasser boots. And the 2 mods we're going to be using on this is Stare into the Barrel and Instant Reload. So Stare into the Barrel, it's not going to be the best in slot mod we're going to be using, but it comes rolled with the boots, and versus the secondary mod, which is completely useless on the boots, it is the best we can do given that we do need to utilize the 3-piece set of Trespassers. So Stare into the Barrel, boost your firepower by 10,000 for each enemy in close range, and it stacks up to 5 times. On paper, when you're surrounded by a lot of enemies, this is actually going to be so amazing, but when put into practice, usually you're probably only going to get that like 10 to 20k firepower bonus, just because you're not going to be in that scenario we're going to have when you're going to always have 5 enemies in close range, right? So I wish we could replace this mod with buckshot shells, but unfortunately it comes rolled onto the boots, and as a mod we're forced to use, it's actually not that bad, and in some scenarios it actually increases your damage more than buckshot shells can. So at the end of the day, the best given the scenario that we have. The secondary mod here is the Instant Reload mod, which is going to be the bread and butter in also making this build come together, and is going to be how you keep up your infinite rounds. And that is, with Instant Reload, when you use Hunt the Prey, teleporting instantly replenishes the magazine in your current weapon. So basically, anytime you use Hunt the Prey, which is going to be on a 4.6 second cooldown, because we have our gear min-max for cooldown along with the class tree, which we'll get here in just a moment, every 4.6 seconds, when you're shooting with that Death Shield with 15% ammo capacity, when you have an enemy to Hunt the Prey behind you instantly reload your magazine. You will never lose Twisted Rounds. Some of you might ask or think to yourself, well, Play-Doh, if you have such an OP mod like Instant Reload, which instantly replenishes your magazine when you use Hunt the Prey, why are we still using Ammo Bargain? Well, guys, when you're dealing with a lot of ads and they're coming at you like in a horde mode scenario or just in general, it's really unnecessary to want, and really actually inconvenient to use Hunt the Prey to teleport behind that enemy to regain your ammo when you can just shoot them right away. Because when you familiarize yourself with the map some more, you realize that Hunt the Prey is going to be used in a very tactical way to focus on elite damage, to get behind that elite, to time rift that elite and some other additional enemies, because you really want max ammo capacity when you're focusing down elites, because they are still tanky motherfuckers. So that's why we use both Ammo Bargain and Instant Reload, because it's a great way to keep up that 100% uptime. Now, you can test around with not using Ammo Bargain and stuff, but the gameplay is not going to be fluid at all. You're going to be using Hunt the Prey in scenarios to reload where you don't really want to be, and that ultimately, in my opinion, loses damage output for you in the long run. Let's go ahead and move on to the skills we're going to be utilizing in this build. While we did cover it a little bit in our gear overview, let's spend a little bit more time in detail here, but not too much time in detail, to go over why we use the skills we do. Hunt the Prey, Twisted Rounds, Time Rift. Hunt the Prey is a no-brainer. Hunt the Prey provides us with that amazing movement ability for map traversal while providing that synergy with the Instant Reload mod, while also being a defensive mod in its sense, but a skill a defensive skill, let's put it that way, giving you a 5400 shield anytime you use Hunt the Prey to teleport behind an enemy. And we'll go over this on the class tree, but there's a node on the Trickster where if you're behind the enemy, you deal additional damage. So Hunt the Prey is also a great way to utilize that additional damage because you're instantly going to be teleported right behind an enemy. But we'll get to that to the class tree section in just a bit. For Twisted rounds, this is also a no-brainer. Just like Blighted rounds and Volcanic rounds, it increases our output in damage. And if you didn't know, any rounds like Twisted, Blighted, and Volcanic, those anomaly-infused bullets, abilities, they ignore armor resistance or ignore enemy armor. So you're always going to be piercing enemy armor. So that's like an added bonus that you don't really know unless you know. Time Rift, like we explained all the benefits of Time Rift, it's a deception skill to take advantage of that Trespasser's bonus, to take advantage of all the Time Rift synergy mods with Pain Transfer, Geiger's Wave, and Long Range. Remember, no micro penis. We want that BBC. And it's also a deception while being an interrupt ability as well. And what do we mean by interrupt? Well, interrupt means anytime you see elites casting their abilities, the ice stuff, the fucking anomaly lasers on the ground that instantly kill you, or those captain elites that do their like little ground stomp thing. If you cast Time Rift on them, it'll pretty much silence them in a way to where they won't be able to cast. So when you're up close and personal to them and they're about to do some elite bullshit, you can just pop Time Rift and it'll just suspend them and they'll be stopping whatever animation they're doing. That being said, Time Rift also inflicts weakness on enemies. And weakness is the opposite of vulnerable. Every enemy also afflicted by Time Rift also has weakness applied to them, which means they deal less damage to you. In a sense, Time Rift, just like Hunt the Prey, is another defensive skill. Moving along, let's go ahead and take a look at our class tree. We're going to be running the standard top tree for Trickster, but we're also going to be first taking a look at the class passive that you get for just playing the Trickster character. We're going to ignore the melee skill part of this because that doesn't apply to us, but let's take a look at our healing mechanic. As a Trickster, each enemy that we kill in close range grants us a portion of our shield and HP. So what is that portion? Well, if you look down to the details, every close range kill heals you for 20% of your max health and grants you 20% shield bonus. So anytime you're in close range, killing those ads, killing those elites, killing whatever is in front of you, you get 20% of your max health and a shield of 20% as well. Okay? That being said, when you have an active shield up as a Trickster, you also get 5% damage mitigation while also receiving 5% maximum health, again, just for playing the Trickster class. So with our class passive, we technically have like 2 defensive class passives as well. And this is why, if you're wondering why we never saw a defensive mod on our Trickster, we don't need one, because utilizing the skills, utilizing the new Fortress, and utilizing your class passive, we have all the defensiveness that we need when playing this class. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at our class tree. I'm not going to go into this in much detail because it's just a standard class tree, but I did want to mention what I mentioned earlier about taking advantage of this one node in the Trickster class tree, which is Unforeseen End. And we have 2 nodes with Unforeseen End. An Unforeseen End, basically, when attacking enemies from behind, all of our weapon damage increased by 20%. So that's why when we use Hunt the Prey with Unforeseen End, and when we have both Unforeseen Ends, anytime we Hunt the Prey behind an enemy, that's an additional 40% damage we are getting. Now, you don't have to use Hunt the Prey to utilize this damage bonus, but Hunt the Prey is the easiest way to reposition directly right behind an enemy. Well, guys, we are at the end of our build video for the new Trespasser set. And if you're angry at me and raising your pitchforks because Play-Doh, you forgot to cover every other class node, well, let me tell you this. You guys can take a screenshot. You can look at the build infographic down below. Put that on your second monitor on your phone, or pause this video and then mouse over every single one of these nodes to see why I went those nodes, because they are the best nodes for top tree Trickster for firepower and really synergizes our whole build and puts it all together as well. Now, if you guys are interested in an in-depth Trickster guide, much like my Technomancer guide, that 40-minute Netflix episode on my Technomancer, I can do the same one for my Trickster, where we go over every little bit of detail on this firepower Trickster build with Time Rift, which includes going over every single node and why we went over every single node, which goes over the skills in even more detail, goes over gear synergies, and all mod replacements that we can utilize in more detail, as well as gameplay of tips and tricks, pros and cons, all of that. Please let me know if you're interested by letting me know in the comments down below. because it is going to be a time investment making that video. I reckon it's going to be about 18 plus hours, just like with my Technomancer video. But if you guys are interested in that in-depth guide, please let me know. I'm also going to have links down below in the description of the older Trickster build guides that I have. One of the older ones that is semi-in-depth that I'll link down below actually has a nice little extra segment at the end, which tells you about a cool little mechanic you can do while you're in the reload animation with Hunt the Prey to never actually lose your ammo, even if you're in the reload animation. So if you want to check out that video, please go ahead and look at that description down below. I'll go ahead and make sure you can't miss it. You'll know which one exactly you're looking for. But that being said, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I'll have some gameplay here at the end of this video to show you how this build really comes together and why it's super amazing. But again, thank you for always enjoying my content. Thank you for always being part of my stream when you are out there at twitch.tv/PlatoBear. I've seen a lot of new faces now that the game is getting a lot more love with the New Horizon update. Hope to see more of you there consistently. Again, thank you so much, guys. Couldn't be here without you. And like usual, peace and enjoy that gameplay.